This episode is sponsored by Bigger City. Thank you so much for supporting us and helping our show to grow. Hello, and welcome to the Big Fat Gay Podcast, where we talk about things that are weighing on our minds. My name is Michael Willer. I am a chubby chaser, and today I am a chilled out autumn boy. I am really enjoying the plunge in temperature here in the greater Vegas area to the mid-80s.
The crisp 80-degree weather.
Look, when you're used to 120, it really genuinely feels quite a bit nicer.
Oh my, yeah, when all of a sudden stepping outside won't strike you dead, you know, proves your mood. Hey everybody, my name's Don. I'm a big chubby guy living here in sunny Hollywood, and today I am a dizzy deja vu boy. I feel like we've just done this. This is very strange.
We may or may not be on take two.
We may be recording again. I'm not sure.
Hey, my name is Dan Oliverio, author, public speaker, and chubby chaser. And today I am freshly back from Madrid. Olé.
Yay.
Hola. And going into the trenches for my upcoming show, Patient 13, which opens Friday, October 20th at the Broadwater Theater in
Tickets
Hollywood.
available now.
The Broadwater Theater here in Hollywood?
That's right. Tickets available now on Eventbrite. Patient 13 is the name of the show.
Eventbrite, that site online? Fantastic.
And there's a really cool video.
I'm Trevor Keyson. I'm a super chub, and today is Groundhog Day because this is our second time doing the intro. But I am glad to have my husband back and to not be in my Dan costume doing all of his husbandly duties. And we have a new kitchen faucet because ours broke while he was gone.
I thought my timing on that was incredible. Can I just say?
Yes.
Trevor's had to deal with a lot while Dan was gone.
When you said husbandly duties.
Yeah, my mind went
I'm talking about husbandly duties are doing the dishes at night.
Okay.
And taking out the trash taking out the trash down the twisty staircase to our garage.
Yeah.
It is a very
I will say there are
staircase.
stairs involved. It is treacherous. And also I was glad, I'm always paranoid about having my keys when he's gone, and the door locked behind me when the garage door closed. So I was very glad to triple check to have my keys.
Yeah.
Y'all.
Stairs are a whole different adventure when you can't see your feet.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, here we are, second time running. Thank you to our Patreon patrons for supporting the show and keeping us going as often and as smoothly as possible.
Thank you.
Have been teasing this Dan and Trevor minisode. My apologies for not getting that done sooner, but it will be out this coming weekend. So if you're on Patreon, keep an eye out for that. I think that's it, right?
Well, thank you to our sponsors over at Big Fig and Bigger City.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
well,
indeed.
Big Fig's not quite a sponsor, but we have an affiliate relationship with them.
We're an alliance.
Exactly. You can sponsor the show by buying a Big Fig mattress through our affiliate link on bigfatgaypod.com. Okay, now showtime?
Now showtime.
Now showtime. Okay. Oh, God, I have to find the pop culture. There we go.
Oh, it's been a minute.
Wop, wop.
We're out of practice.
Tell me about it.
We had a 2-week break.
5, 6, 7, 8. And pose.
Hold it, and release.
Good job, everybody.
It's time to celebrate, y'all. It's a fun pop culture.
Can I just set up how deeply important this next story is? This was one of the pinnacle. This is one of the pinnacle stories of the year. In fact, we look forward to it every single year. Trevor,
Yeah. People
what are we
may
talking
think we're
about?
making fun of this. We are not. I genuinely look forward to this every year.
It's not this week. It was Fat Bear Week, y'all. The best
was
time
Fat
of the
Bear
year.
Week.
The fattest bears.
Literal
it's like,
bears
not just
we're talking about.
Fat Bear Fall, I guess.
Yeah, Bear Fall.
And there was an upset in this year's competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grazer easily wins popular.
Beating out Chunk.
Chunk.
I mean, you gotta love that name. And I'd like to say, there people accuse the event of being overly political because it is, after all, at the end of the day, a popularity contest. But you gotta say that Grazer really put in her due diligence and duty, going after salmon, getting back salmon that she thought she lost, but no, she went after them. She got that salmon.
It's just nice to see a beauty contest where the big girl just knocks it out of the park and wins
my
unanimously.
God.
So there's there's something inconsistent in this article. So it says towards the bottom, a true mama bear, she's known to attack larger bears, even adult males, to ensure her cubs are safe. Now, hold on a second. I thought she was the largest bear. Is this not... Or is this
well,
just
I think it's like during...
No, it's a popularity contest. She's the most popular bear.
She's the most popular fat bear. Got it. Okay, that makes more sense. And she's clearly a very good mama bear.
Though I do think the metric is not just the overall largest, it's like the one who gains the most over the year.
Well, it's voted. It's just votes. It's just votes. And there was another a dramatic wrinkle in the contest this year because of the potential government shutdown. The votes might not have been counted because it is the park ranger, Yogi, that counts the votes.
So 1.3 million votes, by the way.
Yeah. So so Ranger Smith was if he hadn't been on the job that day, we would still not know who was.
As a matter of fact, I'm looking at an article right now. Oh my God, this is quite the scandal. There are images of Mama Grazer sliding picnic baskets underneath the ranger station's door. This does not look
good.
A
scandal. What a scandal. Look.
The things that they will do for a free scholarship to Arizona University.
Can you imagine the upset if this had been like shut down because of the government shutdown? If people did not get to find out.
Yeah, see, that would have brought
there'd be riots in Yellowstone.
That would have brought the Republicans in line. If but you're sure. I mean, tax orders, sure. But Fat Bear Week can't continue. This must end.
I'm just happy, a single mom, a bear mom, raising her kids, winning Fat Bear Week. It's, like Reba.
Mm-hmm. It's very inspiring.
Yeah, I hear she has a talk show deal in the works now.
She's going to be a guest on the
She's
View.
taking the Ellen slot.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, yeah.
She also likes to dance.
Honestly, if she gets these shows, she will have won just by virtue of not eating the fellow co-hosts. That is bottom line. As long as she can, keep that in check. And that wasn't
contractually
a fat joke,
she's
by the way.
allowed
That was
to
a bear
eat.
Joke. Okay.
Contractually, she's allowed to eat 2 co-hosts a year.
Okay. Good job, everybody.
I don't know if any listeners are upset at the Grazer win, and you have strong feelings about Chunk or other, contestants. I don't know. Let us know.
I heard a news story that one of the competitors this year was a 3-legged bear.
Oh.
I was like, go for the disability. Yeah.
Yeah, coming from behind too.
Representation bear.
Okay, so I might need this next one explained to me a little bit, Trevor.
So this is a little unusual. I just saw this through the podcast Instagram, and I mean, I guess we're going from one kind of fat bear to another.
Exactly.
I just loved this dance duo.
Yeah, so I mean, I can say a little bit about this since I've been following. So Diego Basilio is a Brazilian choreographer and dance instructor and dancer, and is gorgeous. He is fat, and he's got this whole Instagram thing with, I don't know if it's partner like dance partner or partner like romantic partner, but but also who's named Kevin.
His partner is very cute too, by the way.
They're both incredibly good looking.
They're adorable.
Very different sizes. And the caption for this particular thing that we've got on our thing is "Huertas usamos rosa," which means Wednesdays we wear pink, and because it's a dance move all about pinkness. But it's really wonderful. If you follow his Instagram, it's just full of really wonderful dance and body positivity, and the men are gorgeous, and it's just a celebration of what a fat body can do.
Yeah,
and what a fat choreographer can do. He's won awards.
Yeah, one of the best elements of the video for me is that there's a whole dance crew behind them while they're dancing who are just going wild for all of the moves that they're executing perfectly. They're cheering, they're laughing, they're so into it that you get a whole other energy. But because there's a dance video where they're just up there dancing, and then there's this sort of dance studio vibe where everyone's just around them, supporting them, cheering. It's a really fun watch.
Yay!
Yeah.
So it's just really feel good and that's some nice eye candy too. I just got to say, if for no other reason.
Is it?
And yes, you should have another reason, damn it.
It's so aggressive.
All right, everybody, it's time. Picture in your head. Call the eagle from within your soul. It's Fat Watch 2023.
I never know what
sorry,
Dan's
I'm
going to
closed
say.
my eyes and I got really into it.
Each Fat Watch is a different experience.
As it should be.
That's true.
All fat people are like snowflakes.
We have more feel-good Fat Watch for you.
Yeah, it's a whole other kind of mama bear coming in to protect her cubs.
On
Take it away, Trevor.
today.com, of all things, which if you're not familiar, today is one of the larger morning talk shows in America. I used to work for an NBC affiliate. This show is 4 hours long.
Holy,
or at least
it's insane.
It was when I was working at NBC. So, this is one of those just like they're churning out content. Usually it's just schlocky kind of like, here's how to pack a bag lunch on your vacation without losing money. And this is actually kind of great. Like this is something a little more substantive. The headline we have is Mom slips this note to her child's pediatrician to prevent body shaming.
Yeah, it's really good. So the note says basically, I've worked really hard to keep value judgments away from my daughter's body. And so if you could just refrain from not using words like good or bad or good food and bad food and things like this. And if you have anything you want to discuss about her weight, why don't you just, take me aside afterwards rather than doing it in the room with her?
Right. And the goal is really just having, as she says, a body neutral and or body positive approach to raising her kid. This feels so thoughtful, but also, I don't want to say easy, but just like this is something that anyone could do. Like if you're taking your child to the doctor, you could write, it was a simple, 2-sentence note. And it just, I think it's also good because in a kind of the same way that we say, like, if your doctor is refusing to treat you for something, make him write it down. It kind of holds them accountable. Like you've been handed a request and they can either choose now to honor it or to ignore it. But then you've done your due diligence and hopefully they won't be a jerk about it, which
I like. One of the responses was in the comments sort of like, oh my God, that's so simple. And I can't believe I never thought of it.
Yeah. It really does. It perfectly fits the Today Show sort of format, which is, everything they're telling you is so simple and obvious. And in this case, it also just happens to be like, yeah, of course we should do that and, not put our kid through, that feeling of judgment and shame that can develop, as we all know, into eating disorders. Yeah. And at the very least, shame-based behavior and feeling bad about yourself very quickly, because as a kid, you are so sensitive.
I know Trevor and I have both talked in the past about our experiences as kids at the doctor's office. I think, Dan, you've mentioned something in the past too. There's no reason to dive back into it again, but the fact is, no positive body experience has ever begun at the doctor's office by surprise. Ever.
Yeah.
By surprise.
Interesting.
So, like, doctors, this is on you.
I also thought it was an interesting thing that people can feel about this the way they feel about it. But one of the things I think the doctor or the nurse said in response was, would it be okay if I showed your daughter where she is on the the height, weight, growth chart?
The growth chart.
But without numbers. It doesn't have any numbers. It's just a curve. And like pointing like, okay, you're here, the curve is here. And and the mother said, sure. And the doctor said to the daughter, your body is growing just the way your body grows.
Yeah.
And that was really really neutral. Like really, like there's nothing wrong. Here's where you are. I don't really see the value in comparing your body with the general average population.
Yeah, what is that supposed to tell you?
What does that mean? Because if you can't change it, or
what is that average? We've discussed in the past that BMI is an average of Scottish military people from the late 1800s.
No. This is a height. This is a height weight chart.
I know, but
it's not.
Where is that average created? In Malaysia, in the United States, using only white people, using the full spectrum of people in the United States, like.
Where did
that's
that
a
come
big
from?
swing,
and how I just don't see how that's helpful.
Yeah,
what, like as Dan was saying, like what are you supposed to do? Just stop growing, like?
Or what's the point of a ranking? I mean, it's sort of a rating, but whatever.
I remember. I mean, I've talked about this before. Like my doctor showing me like my growth chart versus like the standard growth chart, and it was like the same little curve, it was just higher. And I just remember being like, okay, so like I'm growing like other people. Like it's
and there's such bullshit too. I remember when I was a kid, my doctor told me that I was based on my growth chart, I was going to be 6'2". And I'm 5'10". I am the most average of average heights, and so it all feels really like useless guesswork to me.
I just realized, like, hold on, like literally, this just hit me while we were talking about this. At the age of 10, I was about 8 inches taller than anyone else in my class, and I was already being chastised for being much heavier than anyone in my age group. Wait a minute.
Yeah, wait a minute.
Hold on.
Have we accounted for the fact that I'm a foot taller than everyone else?
Yeah.
So dumb. Anyway, so take inspiration from this mom, and maybe you don't have kids yourself, maybe you do, but sharing this story with other people who may or may not have their own kids, I feel like just the more visibility this gets, the better of an example we can help set.
And the more people that do that to any individual doctor, the more that doctor is going to be aware of that, the consequences of doing that outside of that request.
It's true. Because most people, 99% of people really are not trying to be assholes. Yep. So if they just don't know they're doing it. So if you can, this proactive measure, I think is just brilliant.
Awesome.
I think so. I was going to say, I think the people not trying to be assholes but being assholes might be a good segue to our main topic.
It's so perfect.
It's so perfect. Buoyed you up with some pretty fluffy and fun pop culture Fat Watch subjects, and here we are. We have a mailbag, that's not the bad part. That's a good part. Thank you, Liz. Oh, hold on. There we go. We actually have we have music for this.
Yay.
It's been so long.
I guess I should hold on. I really do. I guess I want to clarify that because you said this, but I want to clarify as the person who made the transition. The mailbag writer is not the asshole. It is buried.
Oh, certainly not.
Yes.
Certainly not.
I just don't want them to feel like this asshole writing into the podcast. That's not that.
Oh, heavens no. Do we want to take both parts or just the second part, or what are we doing?
So the listener wrote in, thank you very much. We have sort of a 2-part mailbag here. The first part is a little easier to tackle, and then the second part's the meatier subject. But let's get into part 1. So they start, hello guys, I'm a new listener. I just learned about your show a week ago, and I've been binge watching since then. I love it. Thank you very much. I only wish that I had known about it sooner. I'd love to hear your take on a couple questions. Question 1. I'm not sure how to most accurately describe myself on apps to attract the right chasers. I'm 6'4", weigh 355. I'm assuming this is pounds. Because kilos would be a lot. This fluctuates up and down often. I'm moderately hairy, mostly chest and stomach, some back hair, and I keep a short beard. I have a good sized belly on the squishy side from years of yo-yo dieting. Hello, me too. What best describes my build? Chub, super chub, or bear? I usually say I'm a chubby bear, but I'm pretty massive height and girth, and wonder if it's more accurate to call myself a super chub. Can you help?
Oh, I have.
Why, yes, we can.
Yeah, this I feel like is one of the most asked questions from any chubby listener. Because eventually they want to know, like, well, what do I label myself?
Yeah, I mean, from my take on this, just the sound of it, I think chubby bear is perfectly fine. Really, any variation from that label, the label is never going to suit you to a T. So guess what? Post a picture. Post a picture that shows off. It doesn't have to be naked, of course. It doesn't even have to be shirtless. But it has to be something that shows your build. Like, where do you carry your weight? Which could be anything from, it just could be a snug but not overly tight T-shirt. Something that kind of shows your curves, shows your size in a context.
Mm-hmm. I think there's sort of 2 key things about labels, which is people are going to oftentimes attach their own identity to labels. Yeah. And a lot of times whoever's looking at you is going to attach their own baggage to whatever label you choose. So ultimately, my sense is, a chaser looking at you and reads chubby bear, they're going to bring their own baggage to what you look like and how you identify yourself, whether or not you're even aware of it. So it's kind of hard to anticipate what other people are going to see. I would also look at how you identify, how do you identify within those communities? Do you feel like a bear? Does that feel like part of, if you have a beard and you're a little hairy, do you feel at home in the bear community? Does that feel right to you? If not, maybe lean more into the chub side of things, and that's fine. It's as much about visual connection to the label as it is about with the way that you identify.
I would just say, I mean, I agree with all of Michael's points. I would also just say it's all just branding.
Yeah,
it is. Do you want to be part of Brand Bear? I would say the Super Chub thing is really just like comes from porn branding, really.
Yeah.
And that there's I mean, I will say that there are a lot of chasers that say there are, set parameters for Super Chub. And also, once again, branding now Mega Chub. Yeah. Which I feel like once again is really just to sell porn.
Just 100%. I've seen guys identify themselves as Super Chubs who are clearly no heavier than like 275.
Yeah.
So just so you can get a sense of how meaningless that label actually is.
Well, and that's why
I want to play into what Michael was saying is that people are going to put their own baggage into whatever label you use. So what I suggest is you put your own baggage into whatever label you choose. It's very much what Michael was saying. If you see yourself as a Super Chub, even if the rest of the world doesn't tell you that way, by using that label, you are telling your suitors how you see yourself. That means something. Right? Yeah. And so I can't tell you how many, I get a lot of emails from people that identify themselves as chubby on Bigger City. Although by my standards, I don't see that. But they are telling me that they see themselves that way. So they have certain relationships to their body that I understand because they've used that label. Right? So do put some thought into it because the label you choose does matter for you.
Yes. And ultimately, at the end of the day, nobody's hooking up with a label. They're going to hook up with this guy, and you're the guy, and you're in a photograph. So the photograph just sort of puts all that to rest. Just make sure it shows you off as you choose to show off.
Yeah.
So we have a second part of this.
Yeah. So that was I don't want to say easier part, but
more direct.
A little more simple topic. Dan, do you want to take on?
Okay.
I love that the two dyslexic co-hosts on the podcast.
I'm trying to make this bigger now.
Do you want me to read it?
No, here we go. So the second part of this is as follows. How do you or your listeners respond to this type of scenario? I was on a first date. We were eating dinner and having a pretty good time, but of course I was nervous. My date and I both noticed a lady at the table across from us continually staring at me. Every time I would look her way, she would give me a big friendly smile like she knew me. I did not know her. On her way out, she stopped by my table, quickly handed me a note, smiled again, and left the restaurant at warp speed. My date asked what that was all about. I said, I have no idea. I guess I better read the note. I opened the note, and it was a message saying I would feel better if I lost weight and invited me to her business to buy weight loss pills. Oh I was embarrassed, parentheses, humiliated, really. My date was curious what the note was all about. I let him read it. It was clear he was embarrassed for me too. Perhaps he was embarrassed for himself too. To me, that's kind of a thing here. Parentheses, being on a date with someone big enough to attract that kind of attention. I thought about calling her or, because it has the card. I thought about calling her or dropping by her store to correct her, but ultimately I decided it wasn't worth my energy. My friends wanted the store info so they could try to cancel her on social media. I would not share that info. Instead, I gave her the benefit of the doubt, hoping she truly meant well and didn't just see me as a big, fat, self-loathing $sign. Thanks for the amazing show and resources. Keep up the good work, Brian. And he has a PS. I do love the PS. PS, if any chasers are looking for prime chub chaser territory, visit Oklahoma. I live in the Tulsa area, and Tulsa is surprisingly very LGBTQ plus friendly. There are tons of chubby and bearish guys out there. Unfortunately, not very many chasers.
Let me just say, who does this bitch think she is?
Yeah, fuck this Karen. Every step of this story is someone manipulating another person to drop their guard and then to stab them emotionally.
She was so friendly. She was waving.
Open, smiling, sending positive energy at you. But then she comes over and slips you a note.
You got to get, she really does think that's what she's doing. She really does do that.
Yes, which is why I think these friends need to be unleashed so she can be corrected.
Well, yeah, I mean,
and corrected vocally.
There's that. We could broaden this out into a larger discussion of when someone fucks up. There is that idea that you have fucked up and now you shall be canceled. Whatever you do is irredeemable. And rather than making it more of a corrective moment, it becomes a public execution.
Right. So if you've seen Shrill, do you guys remember that, dealing with the troll?
Oh, yeah.
So
Yes.
I'm not suggesting that this is the way to handle this, but I think, can I just say you have amazing friends and keep them around? Because if that's
that was the correct response from your friends.
Yes, that to defend you, because there are absolutely people who are like, well, she does have a point, and they mean just as well as she does.
Yeah.
And that's bad.
100%. Yep.
When we talk about being slimed, which you may or may not get to in your binge listening, there's always the decision in that moment of whether or not you want to take the time and energy to correct somebody. And then how do you do it? I think we had 3 methods. There was ice, spice, and nice. Nice, spice, and ice, something like that. And so you can be nice about it. You can have the conversation. You can kind of do what Dan's talking about, which is bringing somebody into the conversation and enlightening them.
It's that idea of the distinction of calling someone in instead of calling someone out.
Yeah.
Right. But that is ultimately completely up to you.
Absolutely.
Like, you are not obligated to do any of those 3.
As someone who is currently the rage bunny this morning, let me say that Michael is correct. That is the right way to deal with it. Okay? My way, the way I want to be dealing with it today is not the right way of dealing with it. But here's the trade-off.
I was not advocating that there was a correct
no, I will. My way is not the right way because I want to rage at this person, and I will say right off, my way is not appropriate, and I should not do it. But there is a limit, and all of us at some point are going to want to step over that line. And when we decide that it's time to correct and use the ice as a shiv, in the nice ice and spice reaction, make it count, right? This is a woman who has created a career to go out into the public, right?
Yes.
And this is not the first time she has done it. I guarantee you.
She has a business doing it.
She has a business doing it. She is going to use that same tactic of prying open a little crack into your life by that smile and that shy little glance in your direction. I don't know what she looks like, but I'm picturing someone who has
a very clear image in my head. It might not be right, but
But it's a person that has the ability to use that smile to take that first step and get into your brain. And then when she's in there, she shanks you with slime.
I mean,
that needs to be corrected and stopped.
My thing is like because I'm very angry, but like, and I do agree of the kind of like calling in thing, but like, how do you call in someone who's selling diet pills?
I go there. I go there. I request to speak with them, and I sit my ass down and I tell her exactly what she did to me. Right? Forget the business. You did this to me while I was on a first date with another human being who was also ashamed, and maybe I have or haven't seen them again. And guess what? That's because of you. In my mind, in my life, it's now your fault because you dropped that in my lap. And now I'm here in your place of business to give that gift back to you. And I want to tell you all about all of this in front of your employees.
Yeah.
And hopefully some customers, you know?
But I feel like it's just one of those things where like, because her business is so built on my not existence that calling her in, it's like, if you go in and give that very like, I don't know, good designing women speech and put her in her place.
I will sugar baker her ass.
Yeah. And then you walk, it's like, it's like, see, what denial he's in about his weight. And like, if only he would just buy my diet pills.
At which point, trust me, I know that's going to be there. And part of it's going to be like, notice no part of the conversation we've had was about my weight. All of this has been about your behavior. Not one part of this conversation did any action I've taken. I'm sorry. I'm going to stop foaming now. I'm taking a step back.
No, I think the rage is completely appropriate. I think there's a lot of ways to deal with this, with a lot of these kinds of transgressions where, again, how do you want to deal with this? That's fine. And we've had other episodes on that. Where I think is a more interesting, at least being a chubby chaser, not more interesting than... I guess more unusual, not more interesting, but more unusual, because this happens a lot. This happens, when you're in the grocery store and you're a fat person and someone takes the ice cream out of your cart, like they're doing you a favor and smiles at you as if they've become the hero of that situation. And you just want to slap the fuck out of them. That happens a lot. But what's unusual, I think, or more unusual about this is it's the first date situation. And I want to talk about, and I want to ask about, what is the date's response or responsibility? The chubby chasers, because I can totally see myself in that situation with that guy. And I don't think, I would be angry on behalf of, I'd be angry both sides. I think there's two things going on here. There is one, the fact that, my date has just been slimed. And I don't care if it's a first date. They're still a human being, no matter, whether I've slept with them or whether I barely know them. They're a human being. And they've just been slimed. Number two, and I talk about this a lot, the fact that, chasers also exist in this fat negative environment with regard to their libido. And does the chaser feel ashamed? And that's a huge question, because if I'm the chaser and I also feel slimed, like I shouldn't be on this date, or how terrible that I'm preying on this helpless fat person, or that's some chaser shit that's got to get dealt with, apart from the date, apart from the fat person that's sitting across from me. And then assuming I can handle my own shit, right? Then how do I help this person? Because that actually could be a huge bonding experience at that date. I'm not saying it's going to lead to something intimate, but I'm saying that's just a human being to human being moment. And it's really, that could open up the whole date to something really magical in just the personal intimacy of dealing with anti-fat bias and fat phobia.
I have to say, and I can't speak to what this chaser was feeling or experiencing. I don't think we're going to be able to know that.
We don't know.
But I have actually fantasized about what I would do if this were to happen while I was, with somebody I was dating. It's usually in a restaurant, and it's usually somebody saying something, I hadn't imagined the note scenario. And I think in that case, it would depend on how quickly she actually exited and how quickly I could run to catch up to her.
Apparently it's warp speed.
But I figured out faster than light travel too. So It also depends on if it's a man or a woman, because I think I'm likelier to get into a physical altercation with a guy. But really just, when you've lived as long as I have, or as any of us have in the chub chaser world, dating openly and just trying to have healthy relationships, you kind of build up a vocabulary of, I guess, responses to this kind of stuff. But I've never had really an outlet to unleash them before. And so there's just that feel, there's something in me that would feel incredibly satisfied by getting, I also very much have a thing of standing up for people who get bullied. I don't think that has anything to do with my dating and relationships. No, not at all. But being able to go up to somebody like this who's being a bully and just unload all of that, like very much what Don was saying. Like I have absolutely fantasized.
I understand that completely, because again, I feel one of the reasons why my approach is not a good one is because mine is disproportionate, right? I've gathered up so much rage that I'm looking to dump somewhere that, I feel like me going into this woman's store and ranting at her I am rationally aware that it is not a good thing, but I'm also emotionally aware that it will feel really good, even though it won't advance my position or improve anything.
Well, and I think it would be satisfying in the sense that, expressing anger is satisfying. It's why people...
Oh, it'd be very cathartic.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are even studies that show, like, if you hit your thumb with a hammer and you swear, it actually helps.
Yeah, it hurts less.
It hurts less, yeah. So there is definitely that. I guess where I would focus is, what is and this is so rational, and I realize it's not a rational moment, but what do you want this to lead to? And to me, first and foremost, the fat person is who needs to be healed. That needs to be dealt with first. And then, maybe you can take some corrective measure, or, storm the gates of her castle. But I really want to make sure that fat person's taken care of. And there's an opportunity there for the chaser to do it, assuming he has his shit handled. And that's why it's so important that chasers, we got to handle our shit. That
right,
you can't be also embarrassed. You're not allowed. Get beyond that.
Yeah, you can't be sitting there, wallowing in your own, shame and issues, of which there are a lot. Like, those are real, those exist, but you are not the point in this moment. There is somebody that you presumably that you care about, if you're on a date with them, that is dealing with something that they were the target. You weren't the target, and you don't, in that moment, you don't get to wallow or take that moment to really, think about what you're doing.
I think what you can do is you can say, wow, I can see how, like, I feel embarrassed, and I can only imagine how you feel. Maybe we should talk about this. And so you still have the focus on the other person, but you signal to them that there is a like-mindedness here. And I don't want to say that it's not, that there's not. Chasers have their own experience of fat phobia and anti-fat bias. It is completely different from the Chubs experience, but they come from the same source, which is anti-fat bias and prejudice.
What might be also, I think, just starting that conversation with, this doesn't make me see you any differently.
Yes.
That's don't brilliant. Because there is an immediate sense of isolation, I think, on the Chubs part when you're a target of something like this, particularly when you're on a first date or any date, where the person you're with is either in that moment with you or they're not. And if you can just let them know, like, this hasn't created distance, and just start there, I think that is perhaps quite powerful.
Listening to the two of you talk about this, all I can say is I really desperately hope that the date was with a chaser and not with a normie. Because if it was with a normie,
oh boy,
I think that would break me. That would break me in my date moment. I wouldn't be able to continue with it.
Yeah.
If I didn't have the reassurance that they at least understood my body and my situation in that moment, it would break me.
I have a question for Don and Trevor. So what would you think of the potential chaser reaction that goes like this, the date's reaction? So the Chub has just been slimed. Of course, I'm interested in what was on the note. And so the Chub reads it to me. What if the reaction were something like, just laughable incredulity, like, oh my God, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. What a fucking asshole who would do that. What a bunch of nonsense. What a bunch of crap. And sort of dismiss it as this asshole that it doesn't reflect a greater view. It's this awful, stupid aberrance of one person. How would that go over?
For me, it would depend on my feelings in the moment. If it had actually landed, if I was actually hurt, that wouldn't help me. It would feel performative. Even if it wasn't, it would feel performative.
Well, I mean, it's not performative if that's how I feel, but if someone
but for me, it would feel because that's not my experience in the moment. You are disagreeing with my experience in the moment. It hurt me. It mattered. So
no, I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I'm just saying that, like, what a stupid asshole for doing that. And it's a thing that happened. It's a thing that an asshole did. It's not it doesn't call forth
I think I misheard you in the moment. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm not saying, like, I guess what I mean is laughable is because it's just so fucking stupid and wrong.
Mm-hmm. I think that would be a helpful transition for me. Yeah, I think that would be helpful because it's a way to pivot off of the moment.
Yeah,
into a different area. I think that might be useful.
And it's making fun of her and like how stupid it is and what a jerk move it is.
Trevor, what do you think?
I am kind of in the same place. I think it really just depends on, like, my advice would be to really kind of try to listen and get a sense of where someone is. Because, like, I think Don's reaction from, like, just misunderstanding what Dan was conveying is the most likely situation.
Oh, I like making too light of it, making too little of it.
Yeah,
well, just not really understanding right away.
Yeah, so just really trying to listen to, your date and where they are. I'm just still so fucking pissed off. I don't know, listener, I think just let your friends, Google review bomb this woman. Because I think it's just, given how delicate it is, even if someone is trying to lose weight and going to this woman, it is such a foul, awful thing. It is just such a awful, absurd situation. And the fact that, like, it's probably not the first time.
Yeah, that's my
definitely not.
Like,
definitely not.
She absolutely does this as part of her business, and you could have a conversation about educating. You have a conversation about trying to slime her back. I think ultimately the thing that's actually going to get through to her in terms of helping your fellow fat people, and in terms of punishing her, if you really want to punish her, review bomb her business. Yeah. But be honest about what she did. Yeah. Like, this is what she does. This is how she tries to get new clients. This is awful. 1 out of 5 stars. And then let the market decide, what she's deserving of.
Announcing a business's business policies is what those reviews are for.
Yeah, like does she put on her website, hey, this is how I like to get new clients? Because if not...
Are you a fat person casually going about your business?
Yeah. Like there's no way that she thinks that that is actually acceptable behavior.
Oh, otherwise, yes. In the same way that people knock door to door trying to get you to believe in their religion.
If she thought it was acceptable behavior, she would have said it rather than left a note.
I think that's, I think she probably consciously feels very much like, oh yes, I'm doing this fat person a favor. But unconsciously, she knows that this is not acceptable. That's why she wrote a note. That's why I don't know what her business is called, but I'm willing to bet big money that she doesn't tell people that, publicly that this is how she finds new clients. Anyway,
because she probably doesn't. Who the hell respond to that?
That's true. How often does this actually work? It's a really dumb way to go about your business,
it's awful.
Frankly.
It's awful.
I personally, if it's not too late and maybe I would review Bomber, but I would stay away from anything that's just editorializing or inaccurate. I would keep it focused on what she did and why it's wrong, and then leave the rating and get out of there. I think that's acceptable, personally.
I would agree.
Yeah, just that it's inappropriate behavior.
And then you might, because there is some good that could come out of that. Somebody might read that and go, you know what? I don't want to support a person like this, whether they're fat or not. Okay, then.
I think we've covered that subject.
Have we erected the grave marker, though?
Yeah. Dear listener, thank you for writing in. Hopefully we didn't make you feel worse.
I mean, there is something to be said for taking that high road of, you know what, I'm just not going to interact. I'm not going to let it bother me to the extent of interacting and maybe, and then having to respond to the response. And I can totally understand why someone wouldn't want to just get involved in that.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to, I don't want the person to be left with it's just something that I take in my stride. There's some sort of heroicism in swallowing your feelings.
So the listener, Brian, also writes, the first thing he said in this question was, how do you or your listeners respond to this type of scenario? And I think very valuable to also hear what the rest of the listeners might do or might not do in this situation. What do you guys think? We're just four people. We have somewhat differing points of view on this. So I think there's value in seeing what the collective thinks about this too.
Do we have a tip for the day?
We do.
We do indeed.
Tip day.
So I feel like some of our listeners may already be following the comedian Pat Riley, whether through his normal kind of comedian Instagram account, not Pat Riley, or through his painting Instagram and TikTok, Painting with Patrick. But he has a new comedy album that will have just released yesterday, October 17th, called A Bear Killed My Wife. And he's very funny. You should check it out. You can listen to it on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. He's really funny. You should check it out.
Yeah, he's gay, he's fat, he's funny. We love it.
Awesome. Yeah, always nice to... We don't have tips all that often, so it's always nice to be able to support somebody in the community.
Yeah.
Well, since one of the questions we had from our listener today was about identity and how you identify, I figured all of us at some point, except for Dan probably hasn't had this conversation because the rest of us are Dungeons and Dragons players. And at some point, all of us have tried to figure out, if I were actually a Dungeons and Dragons character, what character class would I be, right?
Okay.
So most of us usually have that in our head. So what we're going to do is we're going to go around and three of us are going to decide what character, Dungeons and Dragons character class the fourth person would be. And then that person will tell us what they thought.
So you're guessing for other people.
Yes. So, for example, I think that I am a certain character class. Now, Trevor and Michael know what the characters are in D&D. Poor Dan is going to stand there looking a little confused. But Dan, you can be the tiebreaker if there's a disagreement. They'll tell you why.
So we'll have to present our arguments.
Yeah. Now, I know I think what I think what I am, but I will tell you after you tell me what you think I am.
I think Don is a bard.
I was going to say bard, but I don't know. After the main topic today, maybe barbarian because of the barbarian rage.
He might multi-class, which would work because bard and barbarian are barbarian strength.
He's a barbarian.
I'm so on the wrong show.
So I think bard because Don, as aggressive as he may get, he always uses his words to try and get to people, to get like that is the spell Vicious Mockery to a T. So I think that for me, it's the bard. It's using the charisma, outwitting people. That's totally up Don's alley.
All right, Trevor, you feeling that too?
Yeah.
All right, Dan, you don't get a vote because there's no tie to break. I will happily take bard. I was thinking bard or cleric, but not because I'm religious, but because I like to fix people and help people and repair things. And, yeah, so that works for me. I'm happy with that.
Through song.
So moving around our little circle, Dan, I know you won't necessarily know what to expect of yourself as a character class, but Trevor, Michael, what are you thinking for Dan?
Oh, goodness.
I'm going to go out on a limb with this one. I'm going to suggest rogue, because back in my day, rogues were the ones that had all the skills. They were the ones who went out and learned things.
That's true.
And were very talented in that area.
Yeah, I could see that. I was thinking paladin.
I can see that.
It doesn't quite hold up when you think about like having an oath to a higher power, but I think in terms of how he operates in life, being, sort of the natural authority figure in the room, the one that people look up to, physically embodying what a paladin would look like if you cast a paladin in something. That to me, that tracks.
Does that work for you, Trevor?
I think that's good because I want to say barbarian. But I think
that's just because of the loincloth. Imagine him without the loincloth. No, wait, let me rephrase.
I like to keep my loincloth on, Don.
Dan, do you have any...
I like the sound of paladin. Okay. And I like that it's a P word. And
there you go. All right. Moving on to Trevor. Michael, what do you think for Trevor?
Oh, boy. See, I've actually played quite a bit of D&D with Trevor, and he has played characters that always embody some part of his personality, but not the full range.
Well, because the character would explode.
I think Trevor is a rogue. Actually, I think Trevor is a rogue because his, I think there's something surreptitious about how he handles things. Something kind of like you might not get the full extent of his wrath. Like openly, it might have to come out like in some kind of like ulterior or sneaky way.
In the bucket propped in the open door kind of way.
Yeah. I could see Bard for him as well. I mean, he's a writer, so yeah, maybe a Bard rogue multi-class. I could see that. What do you think, Don?
I had rogue, definitely.
Because there's also a chaotic. Dan would say chaotic evil. I would say chaotic neutral with Trevor.
That's because you're far kinder.
Well, I feel like if Trevor was going to kill one of us, it would involve like something in a cake, right? Like that seems like the sneaky way.
Poisoning, right?
Yeah, he's going to be the one that knows how to use the interesting stuff. So I think he's the rogue.
There is a chef. I can't remember what it's called, but there is a chef class, like supplementary material, not official, for D&D. That might also be a multi-class dip for him.
So Trevor, what were you thinking for yourself?
I was thinking, I just like druid because I want to turn into animals. But I was thinking people were going to do warlock for me, but
I could see warlock. I don't see you answering to anybody but yourself. That's the reason warlock doesn't quite work for me.
That one. That's kind of why I was like, I don't want to be enthralled to someone.
He's a self-endowed warlock. Where do you get your powers from? Me.
I mean, that's a sorcerer right there.
Yeah.
That's basically a sorcerer.
So Michael, Trevor, what do you think for Michael?
I just think wizard because it just seems so.
Oh.
I don't know. I just see you as a wizard, and with your little
is it the gray I've got coming into my beard?
I think maybe the facial hair, but also just like. I think there is, I don't know. Right away, I was like wizard.
I think for me, I actually leaned in a slightly different, it's a slightly less popular class, but I was thinking artificer because Michael is our maker. He's the one who makes things for us. So for that, I know it's purely role and not so much personality, but no, it's your personality too. You're a maker. You build things.
So that's cool.
I'm going with artificer.
I like that.
He's got that artificer intelligence.
So, dear listener, What character classes do you think we are? Trevor, where could they go to tell us?
Well, we're on Instagram and Twitter as @BigFatGayPod. It's still Twitter. It's not X. We're on Facebook as the Big Fat Gay Podcast. Leave us 5 stars there. Support us on Patreon at patreon.com/BigFatGayPod. See the articles we talked about at www.bigfatgaypod.com. I think that's everything.
The music is looping.
Well, you're playing D&D and you're, investigating a dungeon and you rolled a 15 on your investigation check.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good, and you open the chest and it wasn't good enough. It's Michael as a mimic. He's not a wizard or an artificer. He's a mimic. So
watch out. There it is.
Nom 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 nom.